All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Free Friday coaching call. This call happens the first and third Fridays of every month. It is a combination of skill set and mindset, mindset, a combination of skill set and mind. No, I didn't just get up. I've actually been up since 4:30 a.m. Skill set and mindset for real estate agents in the real estate industry. It was previously known as Rick's Free Friday coaching call, and for those of you that know, knew Rick Jihad, my late husband, for 43 years, he was a top performing agent in real estate out of Fremont in the San Francisco Bay Area. He was a master speaker, trainer, and coach in real estate, and he was always there to help take others to different levels of success along the way by lending a hand and helping people with their mindset and with their skill set when it came to real estate. And so, since his passing a year ago, we continued this call in his honor and commitment to the real estate community and people that want to continue to really learn and grow. And so, we have different speakers that are on and different topics each time. The calls are recorded, so you're able to go back and grab them off our YouTube channel. We'll make sure the link goes in to the chat here today so that if you want to go catch the replay, you can, or of any of the calls we've done in the past. We've had an incredible lineup of people that have come literally from very incredible different walks of life and amazing levels of experience. Everybody from 20, 30 years seasoned in the industry, doing great things to I think our youngest interviewee this year is 24 years old and closed 17 deals in his first 9 months in real estate this year. So those recordings, you'll catch some incredible content and value if you want to go back and grab them. But for today, we are talking about all things 2025. Might seem like it's a little bit early to be doing that. However, it's not. It's time to start thinking about 2025 right now because what happens in 2025 is going to depend on how you finish 2024 and really what happens over the course of the next 60 days between November and December and being clear on what you want to create in the coming years. So we've got an incredible call lined up for you today. The person that will be doing this call is one of my favorite people. Her name is Selina Galanis. She's got 28 years in the real estate industry from property management to corporate, commercial, franchise, and residential real estate. So basically, there's nothing she hasn't done in the real estate industry. She was in Westchester County, New York for 6 years as team leader of the Mark Boylan team, which was the #1 team in the MLS for closed transactions year over year. She's a workman success master coach. She coaches large teams and independent brokerages across the US and Canada. And in 2022, she joined us at the Rick Jihad real estate team as VP of Growth and Operations and support of our organization of literally thousands of agents across the world that we are in business with at EXP. So while this call is company agnostic, that's a little bit of a background of who she is, where she's from. I think her most proud accomplishment is being a mother of 5 and a yaya of 1. And so without further ado, I will turn the call over to Selina. Thanks for being here today.
Yay. Good morning, everybody. So I asked my Alexa device this morning exactly how many weeks that we had left because I usually plan these in October or November, and we have 11 weeks left to the year. 11 weeks. So it's very, very important to decide what you're going to do with it, which is why we do business planning typically in October or November. We try to get them done by October. And Katie posted in the chat, what we do today shows up in 90 days. Right. So getting your head into this space right now is really important. Whether you had the 2024 year that you wanted or you didn't, right? You're looking at what you want to do for the coming year. So what we're going to do today is sort of business planning by speed dating, because normally this is a 6-hour course, and we're going to power through it in 1 hour. So the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen, and you can do this on a piece of paper, guys. I want to make sure that you don't feel like you have to have this, though you will have access to it after the fact. This is a 1-page business plan from Workman Success. So it was perfect for today in 1 hour versus going through the 40-page booklet that we normally have for something like this. So I want you to first write business goals and then numbers 1 through 5, and then pillars and 1 through 4. You can make it look just like this, and then action plan underneath that. And that's kind of where we're going to start. For anybody who's interested in where to find all of these fabulous little documents, If you go to our empirebuilders.pro page, and we'll put this in the chat, and you go to resources right here, it says resource library. It's immediately going to take you to our Google Drive where we share everything from all of the calls that we do. And it is in Free Friday coaching call, one-page business plan. So very, very easy for you guys to find. None of this is hidden. We keep it so that you guys can get to it very quickly. Again, resources, resource library, and it takes you right to the Google Drive. And those are all the documents for many of our calls, anything that we do and we share. So if you want to print this out later and you want to say, like, I'm going to transfer it from my page to that. So the first step is truly to be able to plan for the coming year is to know what you did this year. Who here has tracked every single transaction that they have done year to date? Oh my gosh. Okay, Tom. Yay, Tom. Thank you. Excellent. Is there a particular reason nobody's tracking that? And this is an open forum, so I'd love for anybody to come off of mute. And if you have your camera off, to turn it on, because I like to engage with you if at all possible. So would anyone like to share why they're not currently putting that somewhere where they know what those numbers are? Nobody be shy.
I never did because in the past I just wasn't consistent with transactional sales. But this year, since I had a couple under my belt, I was able to find it under the EXP site, and it
Good.
was good to see it there because I never really actually got to see the actual physical numbers. So I liked that I was able to see it and how they had it broken down. So moving forward, I can definitely now keep track of that, which I like to do, be able to do.
Love that. Anybody else? Did it just not cross your mind?
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm working on it, but I would not say it's fully completed. But I definitely keep track of it. I would say maybe around 70%.
Okay.
I just need to get a little bit better on it. And thanks to you guys, I'm getting better at it day by day.
Excellent. So let me ask you, if I asked each of you, what was your average price point of homes sold in this past year, would you be able to tell me?
1.7.
Okay. Anybody else? Or your average commission? There's a point to this.
Yes.
Okay, so the reason that this is important is it's very difficult to set goals for what you want when you don't actually know what you're doing. So without tracking it and knowing what it is, like someone might come to me and say, Selina, I really want to make $100,000 next year in real estate. Great, I love that goal. It's almost impossible to really set a specific goal, right? And those are the really important ones without knowing what that's going to take. So it's very different for someone who's in a market whose average price point is $250,000 per home on how many homes it will take them to sell than it is for someone who's in a market that their average price point is $800,000 per home, right? Now we are able to start figuring some things out. So I'm going to share it, and this is also in the same resource library, but what we use typically is a transaction tracker. This is a Google sheet, guys. There's nothing fancy here. This is about as simple and easy as it comes. And I'm going to blow this up just a little bit for you so you can see it a little bit better. So this is an example of just an agent. Let's just say that they're just putting in numbers for what they've closed in the past year, right? Let's just say it's a full year's worth. And they're putting in the date that it was sold. Was it a buyer or a seller? This is also important. You're going to keep track of the client name just so you know who it is. You can see I really went way out with addresses, but my client names are fun. Sales price, what your commission is, and any fees. This is different for everybody because this is a broker agnostic call. So whatever your split is with your brokerage, whatever that is, and what you're actually taking home. The other thing that we're tracking is lead sources. This took me about 3 minutes to complete. For those of you that are in any brokerage, you can get this report from your brokerage for the past year and then just slap it in this puppy. Now, let me show you why this becomes important. When I highlight, okay, notice down here, it says my average is 414,607. Okay, that's important to know. 414. There's a couple of different reasons for this too, which we'll talk about as we go through the plan. So if my average price point's 414, now gross commission average is 10,365. Again, giving me the number down here. And my gross net is 8292. So I just got a lot of information from just tracking my numbers. This is important because let's say I'm that agent and I say, I'd like to make $100,000 next year. This person actually already did, so maybe we bump that up. They made 116. Let's say this year they say, Selina, I really want to make it to 200,000. And I say, great, great. Now we know, is that gross or net? And they're like, I really want a net. I want to bring home $200,000. I say, terrific. Pull out your calculator and take $200,000 and divide it by 8292. You need to sell 24 homes this year. Do you see how we can be specific when we actually know what it is? Other times people will come and say 100,000 or 200,000 and they don't know what that means for them. It's very, very different depending on what your average price point is. You might have started out selling in condos and you've started noticing that you're selling something a little bit higher end, and you might want to expend a little bit more effort in the higher end, right? Because it's going to get you to your number a little bit faster. So do we see why it's important to track? Why it's important to know? It's very difficult for me to tell you what your goal should be or for you to even figure that out without knowing exactly how much you're making and what it would take to get to that point. Does that make sense? Does this spreadsheet freak anybody out? Because it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. So when we go here and we see a one-year financial goal, I don't want you to put 200,000. I want you to put 200,000, 24 homes, right? I want you to be specific because now we know what that number is for you. If that's not your number and it's 17 because of your market, you understand that when you know the number, you know what you're working towards. 100,000 is, or 200,000 is very vague. You don't actually know what you're working towards because you don't actually know what you're doing already. So you have to get very specific with what it is that's going to get you to the goal. It's very exciting too when you start keeping track of it and you're like, oh, I just closed one. I just closed two. I've got 22 left. You start knowing the number to get to that point. Okay. So would anyone like to share what their goal is for the coming year? And has anybody maybe done the math while I've been talking? No, no one did the math. Well, I see several people driving, so you guys be careful. Tom, you look like you wanted to say something. No? Okay. Nobody did it while I was sitting here figuring this out?
Do know the number, but I've not done the math because I'm kind of still downloading the stuff from the site because there's some really informative and great stuff here.
It's a basic math. Has everybody like thought about what they want to do next year? Is there something that you're setting that's different than the number of homes? That's something important to share too. Let's talk about that. Oh, hang on, I still see some people coming in. Okay, this is interactive. Go ahead, Nicole. Love it. Thank you. Oh, you're still muted. You're still muted.
Okay, according to the math that I just did, and this is only for last year, not like my total or current year, current year. So I need to sell 22 homes and my GCI goal is 300,000.
I love it.
So
how does that feel to actually know the number?
Well, my average sales price, it came out to 5,029. So I think I actually just need to bump up my target average sales price, and that helps me feel a little bit better. I was surprised how low it was. So I think in my market, I could definitely go higher for my average sales price, which will help me not just reach the 22, but maybe even make up for any shortfall.
I love that. I love that. So see, it's very interesting. I know that most people that are realtors are not detail or analytical. And I am, but the reason for that is that it tells us a story, right? It tells us a story about what this might look like. And it also, I love what you found, Nicole, was like, I could possibly bump it up. I could, perhaps do door knocking in a neighborhood that's like we call it a move up, right? Depending on where you are. And then that can change everything. In some cases, can change absolutely everything. So what I want you to really focus on is the first year financial goal. I absolutely do want you to be thinking about 2, 3, 4, and 5. But you, again, need to be specific. Now, when I tell people to set goals, it needs to be outside of just the financial. Okay, there's a lot of things that we think about. And I always like to give this story because it did take into account the exercise I just took you through with determining exactly how many homes you need to sell. I was coaching a large team in Atlanta about 2 years ago, and there was a very brand new agent, very new, but she was doing really, really well. And on her business plan, we were doing a big team meeting, and she said, I'd really like to take my family to Paris. It's like, that's a big goal. That's probably like 3 to 4 years down the road. I don't think it's possible. And I said, okay, let's talk about it. Like, what does that look like? How much money do you need to go? She's like, I don't know, but it's going to be so much. She had a family of 6, and she felt like that was an impossible goal to get to for at least 3 to 4 years. And I said, here, I'm going to give you an assignment. You're going to go figure out what your average price point is. You're going to figure out what your average commission is. But secondly, this is where you take it the next step, guys, because goals are very specific. Find out how much it's going to cost to go to Paris. And she's like, what? And I said, flights. Are you flying coach? Are you flying first class? Are you guys staying at the Marriott? Or are you staying at the Regis? Like, absolutely plan it out so that you know exactly what that trip is going to run you. Everything that you want to do, cost of food for 6 people every day. Like, are you zhuzhing it up, or are we going like hostel? Like, whatever that looks like. Come back and tell me what the cost is. She came back 2 weeks later on our coaching call, and when she gave me the number, I said, great, let's divide that by your average commission that you take home. And when she did, the number was 3. She only needed to sell 3 more houses to attain the goal to take her family to Paris. And I said, does that feel doable? Do you think maybe you could sell 3 more houses this year so you could meet that goal this next year instead of in year 4? She's like, I could totally sell 3 more houses. And I said, but in her mind, because the goal was so nebulous, it was so out there, and it was just something percolating, right? She hadn't really put the full thought into what it was. It felt unattainable for a very long time. So when we tell you to set goals, I don't want you to think, oh, I want a new car. I want you to say which car. I want you to know exactly how much it cost with it all tricked out for everything that you want. If you want leather seats, whatever it is, all of the pieces and parts are figured out, and you know what that looks like. If it's investment property, what's it going to take for you to do it? Every single piece has to be figured out. One of the most amazing things about what we do as a career is we have direct control over the money that we earn. If you were working a corporate job, you couldn't just show up to your boss and say, hey, I need to make an extra $22,000 so I can go on this Paris trip. He's not necessarily going to give you a raise that equates to $22,000. The likelihood of that happening is fairly slim. However, in real estate, you can figure out how many houses that is, and you can double down a little bit, and you can make that happen, right? So, okay, any questions on setting goals before then? Anybody struggle with setting them? That's a good question. I'm sorry. I should back up a little bit. Anybody feel like they have a little trouble defining it or knowing what that looks like for you? No? Everybody's good? Everybody, who here does a business plan every year already? Okay, we got a couple. Yeah, excellent. Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to skip to 4 pillars because this one takes a little bit of time. And I'm so sorry, I don't have the chat open, so let me look up in case I'm missing anything. Okay, good. 4 pillars. 4 pillars of income, the concept behind this, and some of you I've had on classes before, so I know that you know what this is. The idea is that we don't put all of our eggs in one basket, okay? When agents work, typically we find that there might be one thing we're very good at doing, right? You might be incredible at open houses and converting. You might be really great at doing expireds. There's usually something that you find that is just a natural thing for you that you do really well at. We started developing this idea behind 4 pillars because sometimes those things can go away. Like, I don't know, COVID, everything shut down and open houses stopped, right? All of a sudden we had a big shift in what that meant for some people. So when we do 4 pillars, I want you to be thinking about 4 ways to generate business for yourself as a realtor, but you're working on all 4 of them all the time. And you're going to actually set goals as like if your goal was 24 units, then you're going to close 6 from each pillar because that's how well that you're working them. I like to give the example of when this kind of happened to us, and I actually have had it happen to friends in the industry. When I was in New York, we did REOs. We were able to get started in REOs. It was a really incredible opportunity. We ended up working with 5 banks, and we were doing a great job on foreclosures. We were listing them. Our buyer's agents were almost always buying them. And then we were listing them again because it was an investor. So it was an incredible opportunity for us, and it was generating a lot of business. Well, then the market got better, which is great news for the market, bad news for realtors. And all of a sudden, the banks started taking some of that away. They were like, hey, we don't need as many of you in this market. And all of a sudden, we had no foreclosures. Everything was gone in it took about 3-4 months, and everything went away. We had hired a full-time staff person to do that work. Like it was a big shift for us. Now imagine if that was the only thing we did. What would have happened to the business, right? There are a lot of realtors out there that focus only on foreclosures. And when that went away and the market got better, they were basically unemployed because they had not skilled up in any other areas. And they did not have 3 other pillars to work. Now, I'm going to tell you as a coach what 2 pillars have to be. Okay, I'm just going to say it because I mean it. One is called top 50. Those are the top 50 people in your life that know, like, and trust you, that you truly believe if they were having a conversation about real estate in their own life, they would mention your name. You pour into these people. You're talking to them every single month. You have no doubt in your mind if they were at a soccer game and somebody said, I need to sell my house, they would be, yes, you have to call Katie. Like that would be the next conversation. They wouldn't even hesitate because they're hearing from you so regularly and they know and like and trust you that that's what's going to happen. That's top 50. The next one is SOI. It's different than top 50. Your sphere of influence is on average 250 to 300 people who you would invite to your wedding or funeral. They still know, like, and trust you. You're still talking to them. Maybe it's only once a quarter, but they're getting whatever they need to get from you via email monthly, and then quarterly, you're calling them. They're getting invited to your pie events, whatever that looks like. But that is a large group of people. Do not be a secret agent with your own sphere of influence. Secret agents are the people who are out there operating under the radar. Their own friends and family don't know that this is what they do for a living or that they're looking to be busy. Okay, so those are the top 2 that I'm going to tell you. Ask me which ones that most agents don't work. Yes, Debbie, those 2. Ask me which ones are the top lead source in the country. Those 2. It's really sad. It's really sad. It's much easier to work with someone who knows and likes you. They want to work with someone who was recommended to them by a friend versus Googling and finding a random stranger on the internet. It's like a massive risk, but most agents will not work on that as a pillar of their business. But we have seen as an industry that it is by far the best lead source there is. I will see agents spend time on Facebook and Instagram and whatever, like passive stuff, and not call the people they already have in their lives. You're not calling them to ask them if they want to sell their home. I want to be very clear. You don't call them up and say, hey, did you decide you want to sell this month? Hey, did you think maybe you want to sell this? You're not trying to kick them out of their house. Okay. You're calling and talking to them because you genuinely care about them. And at the same time, you're asking them, hey, if you know of anybody in your life who's mentioned that perhaps they need to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, would you be sure to connect us? because my goal this year is to close, in Nicole's case, 22 homes. I really wanted to help 22 people with their real estate goal. And I was hoping that maybe you could help me, that if you were having that conversation anywhere, that you'd be sure to mention my name. Could you do that for me? People like to help people succeed, and they really like to hear what your goal is. So don't be afraid to say it. Okay, so those are top 2. Anybody want to give me examples of other pillars, perhaps that they're currently working? There's so many.
House.
Open house. Thank you, Debbie. Anybody else?
Expireds.
Expireds. Okay.
Dispose.
Bispos. Who else? Who else is doing something different?
Brand new homes.
Brand new homes. New home construction. Anyone else?
I specialize in 55 and over, and that has been the most consistent niche for me. And the postcards are working really well, and the yellow letters that I do. So I would say that 55 and over.
I love that because you're geo farming on top of it. Love that.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Trust and probate lawyers.
Trust and probate. I hope everybody's taking notes. These are all opportunities. Everybody's taking notes. Does everyone know what a geo farm is? If you don't, go ahead.
I wouldn't say I'm not sure if this is different, but we do a lot of client appreciation events. So every quarter we do a dinner for the closings for that quarter, and then we have 2 major events. We rent out a movie theater in the summer for 300 plus clients, and then we do like a Christmas cookies with Santa or gifts with Santa. Appreciation events are like huge for us.
Events are a big one. And it is part of SOI and top 50, but events as a whole can most definitely be a lead generation tool, right? And those are people who know, like, and trust you already. So it's a big win. It's a big win. Anybody else, anything that we haven't named already? Anybody part of a BNI network or anything like that?
Used to
John?
be part of BNI for a year, but I never got any referrals from them.
Okay. John, what were you going to say?
I work with a lot of investors myself.
Investors. Excellent. Okay, so the idea is that, and I'm going to be very careful about this because people will often put something on here and then they don't actually enjoy it or like it. So don't do that. Don't choose something that you're not going to want to do. You heard a lot of things named there. Choose pillars that you truly believe you're going to work. So if you already see, and this is where you can go back, by the way, to this, and you can see where most of your lead sources are. This is a breakdown that a lot of agents have where they don't track where their business came from. It's very important for you to just keep track of that as you're going throughout the year, because otherwise you might forget. Do it from the moment the lead comes in, right? If you find that you're really great at past client referrals, then that needs to be a pillar. If you find that all of a sudden you see that a ton of stuff was closed from open houses, that needs to be a pillar. Don't pick the one thing that you got one lead from in the last year and that you didn't do really well. Pick something that you already have evidence for that you have done well. Okay, most of us tend to see a pattern in what we've been doing, and then you're not having to do something that maybe you might feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's great to do things that are uncomfortable, but I want you to pick something you're going to do. If you're terrified to knock on a door, do not put door knocking. Don't do it. Okay? It's just, you're never going to do it. You're going to have so much hesitation to get up every morning and do it. And then you're going to stand in front of the door and you're going to be like, and then you're going to show up that way. Okay, so choose something that feels like it's going to be something that you enjoy. I love that everybody mentioned a bunch of different things. Investors, that can be very powerful, right? As you're developing those relationships. Geographic farming, not done as much anymore, but can be very effective. And it's a combination of things where you're choosing neighborhoods or choosing particular areas and you have a strategy around it, which is what we're going to get to in the action plan in just a minute. I sent our whole team a giant list the other day, and I'm happy to, I'll pop it in the same folder for you guys. And it was 100 ideas for lead generation. Nobody needs to recreate the wheel. Somebody out there has already done this. Okay. Nobody's asking you to go out and do something completely crazy and different. What I'm asking for is consistency. This is the true breakdown for pretty much every real estate agent out there. You can put something on this paper, but if you don't create the action plan and the consistency around doing it, it's not going to happen. So choose something that you feel like you're going to want to do. And then determine if it's 24 units, you need to close 6 from each. And what does the GCI look like? Now, Nicole, this could be really important for you. Did I lose Nicole? Do I still have her? Oh, yes, there you are. You could set that if you were working on that move up neighborhood, right? You could target what your GCI would be from that because of the price point being higher. And that would be a very clear way of seeing like, okay, well, I could earn a little bit more from this one and where I can even it out on if maybe I'm doing something else that does not equate to that same price point, right? So you start looking at it very strategically. This is why we break it down this way. Now, again, the idea is that you're working all 4 pillars all the time. There's a couple of different strategies for this that people have put in place at Workman. Some people like to work 1 on Mondays, 1 on Tuesdays, 1 on Wednesdays, and 1 on Thursdays. That way they're really focused on those days, on those particular pillars. Some like to do it 1 week, 1 week, 1 week, 1 week. Do whatever works best for you as long as it's on your calendar. If it's not on your calendar, it does not exist. Okay? For those of you that have difficulty keeping track of what's happening in your lives. Okay. Put on there lead generation. Who here is lead generating at least 1 hour a day? Consistently, every day.
I've been calling all my old clients.
No one else? 30 minutes?
Yeah. Yesterday I did 5 hours.
5 hours? John.
Yeah. I'm a new agent, so I'm trying to hit it strong.
I like your fire. I like your fire. What did you get from that, John? Do you mind sharing? How many contacts?
It was actually pretty low contact. Did expires yesterday. There were about 14 contacts. Had 2 great conversations and maybe 1 buyer for next year.
Okay. But that's a win.
That is a win. Every day is a win.
Every day's a win.
Amen.
Yeah. So the key is in the consistency, right? And it's very easy to get discouraged. It's very easy for you to think that if let's say that John made all those calls yesterday and nothing came from that, right? What's going to get you up the next day? What's going to make you say I'm going to do it the next day if yesterday was not a total win? First of all, I think it was a win because that wasn't a crazy amount of calls, and that's also skilling up. Like that's incredible. And that's commitment to your business, which is amazing, John, truly. So you have to go back to like, what is getting you out of bed in the morning, right? And we could have talked about this at the beginning, but this is such a bigger conversation. We talk about your why. Why do you do what you do? What is it that gets you out of bed every morning and makes you passionate about selling real estate, right? We talk about goals, obviously, but is there something bigger that's getting you out of bed to do it if you did have an off day? Who here has had an off day in real estate? Yeah, like a day where you're like, that's it. I'm going, I'm leaving, I'm doing underwater basket weaving, I'm out. Okay. Like 28 years in the business and I'm still here. So it's like some days are like that. Casey has heard me say it. I'm like, that's it. I'm out. I can't do it anymore. It happens, but something has to get you out of bed the next day to do it. Okay. Something has to get you out of bed. So being able to be very specific about what those goals are, what your why is. Sometimes it's your kids, but that's not specific enough. I always tell people, if you don't cry when you say your why, you don't really know what it is. It should bring tears to your eyes when you say it. It should be that powerful. So, okay, I know that we're getting a little bit closer on time. So I'm going to dig into action plan. Now, this is where the breakdown usually happens. People love to put their goals out there. Oh, they love to write it on a vision board. They like to put it up, like post about it. I'm going to help this many families. Nobody likes to implement it. Okay, so this is where we start getting really granular on how you're going to do it. So if you're going to do open houses, what does that mean? Would anyone like to share? Like, let's just say, what is your action plan for building a pillar on open houses? Anybody?
You kind of need to know traffic, if there's an ad spend for marketing for the open house, conversion skills. Am I on the right path?
Yeah, you are. Anybody else? No? Okay, so I'm going to give you an example for those of you that like holding open houses, so take notes again. Most people show up about 15 minutes before the open house. And they plop a sign in the front yard. And if you're very lucky, they posted it the day before on MLS. Like, you might have gotten 12 hours of notice that it was out there. And they have the people come in, they see who they connect with. And then as soon as that open house ends at 2 o'clock, they close the door and they're out. It's okay if this sounds like you, but you need to make a change if you want to take open houses to the next level. Okay. When someone sets open houses as their action plan item in their pillars, I want to know exactly how many you're doing every week. There are 52 weeks in the year. How many are you doing every week? Are we doing them on Saturday and Sunday only? Or are we going to take it up a notch and we're going to do one on Fridays? We're going to do one on Thursdays. Is it close to a school where if you did it in the middle of the week and all these cars are driving by from carpool, it's an excellent opportunity to have an open house. You have to think outside the box and create an action plan around it. Okay. How many? When am I doing them? What am I committed to as far as how many each week? Then that open house is listed in the MLS on Monday. Monday. I'm saying this because most agents don't put it in until the end of the week. It's not giving you any exposure. You start creating a plan and a system around this. You want it out there as early in the week as possible because people make plans for the weekend. I already know what I'm doing on Saturday by Monday. Okay, so if it didn't get posted till Thursday or Friday, there's no chance I'm getting there because I'm going to a football game or soccer game, or this week I'm going to the zoo, right? Like something is already in place because no one posted it early enough for me to go, you know what, I'm not going to the zoo. There's an open house that I really want to go to on Saturday at 12. So I'm going to set my schedule to accommodate it because I saw it. You're giving people more opportunity to see it. Don't dilly-dally on that sort of thing. You're going into your CRM and you're doing a best fit leads. Most of our CRMs have that. It will find everybody in there who's looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Fremont that said that that's what they were looking for and email them an invitation to the open house. That takes about 5 minutes in KV Core, less actually most of the time. It's very, very quick. Okay, so that's another way. You're personally inviting those people. You're getting there early. You're checking to, I hate to say it, but a lot of sellers don't leave it ready for an open house. I had a little open house bucket in the back of my car, Clorox wipes, a little dust buster vacuum, whatever that was, so that it looked amazing. We put in New York on that team 15 to 20 open house signs out. At every major intersection, those signs were pointing the way to the house. Every major intersection from the main roads. That way, if anybody was on the shopping road that was maybe 1.5 miles down the street, they were seeing it and then following the signs all the way in. 15 to 20 signs in advance of the open house. Okay? Make sure that you're giving it as much exposure as possible. One at the beginning of the street and one at the house. As a seller, I look at that as the bare minimum of work. Bare minimum. Danny, go ahead. Do you need help unmuting? Let me see. How about that? Yep, you're off.
Can you hear me, Coach?
Yes, I sure can.
How are you doing? Good.
I'm good.
I am enjoying the conversation. I wanted to ask you about the open house. This is like an event in Facebook. For example, you make an event about the day, hour. And you
Some people
invite
do.
people to came to this event. This is showing house, no?
Yes.
So it will be like somebody who will push more to have it if they like it. So you create some kind of like competition between buyers, no?
I love
Or
that.
can you explain us more about that, please?
Yeah, there are definitely people who set it up as like an event in Facebook. That way they're pushing it to everybody that they have in their own sphere. You can even run an ad from it if you wanted to go one step further. And then as your people that know and like and see you on Facebook think that they know somebody who would like to go, they can share that event with someone else. So you're just getting yourself more exposure. It's a really good opportunity, Danny. So thank you for bringing that up. The other thing that you could do before it starts is door knock the day before. Right? Door knock the entire neighborhood and invite every seller on that street to come to a VIP open house 1 hour before the public open house. What are you showing?
I'm working in Spain. I don't know if it will work like United States is another market. So
yeah, it could be different.
Different structure, but in United States it works like that, no?
Yes. Yeah, you could do it here.
Okay,
Why
I
would
can
we-
copy the model.
Why would we invite the sellers, guys? What are we telling them? Go ahead, Heather.
Well, one of the reasons that we do walk around the neighborhood and hand out a flyer or an invitation before, we usually do it like a couple days before, is because they've always got a friend or a family member that might want to move to the area.
Yeah.
And then we get our name in front of them for future when they want to reach out to us because they know we're marketing this house for this particular seller.
That's the key. You're showing them what you do for a seller. They're like, wow, they did more than just pop a sign in the front yard. Check them out, right? They door knocked. They're doing a VIP open house. Now I've met them. They've left me a little flyer behind. Wow, this agent's a lot different than the average agent. Like they're seeing what you're doing as a listing agent. It's an incredible opportunity. Okay, so you have to up your game, guys. When people say open houses and then I find out that they just showed up, held it, and left, that's no strategy. There's no action plan around that. And you're not truly investing in your business and actually doing the work it's going to take to get to those number of homes sold, right? There's all the follow-up that needs to happen after an open house. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this. You can Google all of this. Again, people have put it out there all over what their open house strategies are, what their plans are, what they do. People get the feather flags, right? That's always, you know, some people get the crazy guy, the balloon thing that goes like this, which is always fun. You know, there are a lot of different ways. It's very important when you create the action plan to just say, these are all of the steps. Why do we do that? So it's repeatable. You do it the first time, you're going to come back and you're going to say, that didn't work, or maybe I needed to leave it a little bit earlier, or I would do this a little bit differently. The second time you do it, you're like, okay, I'm better now. It's repeatable. It starts to become a process that's part of every week when you go to do open houses. Now you have it in place and you're like, this is becoming easy. It's not hard. I'm so used to doing it. And now I'm generating more business as a result of it. Does that make sense? Don't set a goal without clearly defining how you're going to achieve it. Geoplans, geofarms, the same story. I tell people, don't send the first piece of mail out to your geographic farm until you have it. Let's say you want to do 8 weeks worth. All 8 are already designed. When I coach, I don't let anybody even send the first one. The reason is they'll send the first one, they get a little busy and they forget to design the second one. And all of a sudden we're past the second week and they're not getting it. The key is in consistency. That you want those people to start expecting what you're sending in the mail is too. They're gonna realize that it's you. They're like, oh, Katie sent me this, and then Katie sent me that, and I got this, and everything needs to be branded the same. So now it's recognition. But let's be real, most agents get distracted. No, really? Yes, so much distraction, right? Because we're reactive, not proactive. So if you decide to do a geographic farm, design the entire thing, decide who it's going to, pull that data from wherever you're getting it from, design every piece in advance. There's always going to be some things you might have to put in. Let's say that you're sending out just sold cards, right? That might be something you put in at the last minute, but the design is already in place. Everything is already there. And all you're doing is maybe popping in a picture and adding what the sold price was. Create everything in advance, create a system around it so it's duplicatable again, but know that you have all 8 weeks when you start, so that if you get distracted, no matter what, you can just go drop it in the mail. Like, it's that simple, right? These are all action plans. Don't get distracted by not completing this kind of thing. Without the plan, there's really no business goals here. It's really just very nebulous again. I just want to make this much money. I just want to sell this many houses. Okay, there's not enough there. There's not enough meat for you to grab onto and know whether or not you're even succeeding. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent.
And open houses are they have a 10% success rate for finding clients. That's the highest than any other way we touch the client.
Because you're eyeball to eyeball. You're already building rapport with them. Right? Katie, what do you want to say?
That
Go
is
ahead.
correct, yes.
Katie's about to bust out of her skin.
Yes, open house is a great way. I also believe that we get somewhere between 5 and 10 people a week that will ask us, how's the market? And that's 100% what opportunity to get new business is if you are not capturing the how's the market people, those are leads. I'll stop now.
That's okay. Well, this brings up something that I find very funny. I mentioned being a secret agent earlier. I'm sure many of you are out and about in the community rather regularly. You're out showing houses, you're kind of everywhere. Who here is wearing something that lets people know that you're in real estate? Are you allowing the conversation to be opened? Right? So I coached another team up in Kentucky area, and there was a gentleman who was adamant, by the way, that he did not have 250 people in his sphere of influence. He just did not believe it. He fought me the whole way. He was a buyer's agent. And we were friends on Facebook. So I knew, because I could see like what was happening inside of his life. And so I gave him the assignment and I said, for 2 weeks, I want you to open your phone and I'm going to challenge you to do this if you feel like you don't have that. And I said, you're going to open a note. And for every person you have an interaction with for the next 2 weeks, you're going to put their name down. If you have a second interaction with them, you're going to put an asterisk next to it. If you have a third one, you're going to put another asterisk with it. And you're going to keep track of how many people that you speak to in 2 weeks. He came back and he had over 300 in 2 weeks, guys. This kid, he had a little kid. He was always at all of these events. They were doing all of these things. He was a realtor. He was always inside the community. They had a really nice downtown area that he was always going to. Over 300 people. He couldn't believe it. Sometimes we don't realize what we're exposed to, right? It's just our day-to-day. We don't actually take it in. So I said, I'm going to ask you to take it to the next level. What are you doing that's giving them permission to talk to you about real estate and know that that's what you do for a living? And he's like, I don't know. Like, some of them know I'm in real estate. And I said, great, I'm going to challenge you to do something else. I'm going to challenge you to wear something or hold something or get a laptop skin if you're going to be at the coffee shop that says, ask me about real estate. Allow an open invitation. Well, he took it one step, actually like 7 steps further. I really enjoyed the picture that I got afterwards. He was with Remax, and I did not know that they sold this much apparel, but he was going through town with a Remax hoodie, Remax pants with them down straight down the side. They sell Remax sneakers, and he had a Remax hat on. It was impossible for him to walk through town without someone saying, are you in real estate? And it became a joke. But he had so many conversations as a result of it. So many conversations about real estate as a result of just changing that one little thing while he was going through the community. You've got to open your mind up to, are you treating your business like a business? I want you to think about other businesses that advertise. Are you advertising? And I don't mean Facebook ads. Okay.
Also, I would like to add a common interest really helps you find buyers. My biggest sale of almost 2.9 million, I got it because the couple whose dog I babysat, they had a family emergency and they had to go out of town. I babysat that 4 months old, and he was 110 pounds, huge dog, for 3 weeks. And they were so appreciative. They when they went to a builder, and they were so happy how I took care of their dog, because I have dogs. And when the time came, they already had gone to builder, and then they say, oh my God, we forgot to, tell them that you're our realtor. So we had to talk to the builder. They were able to get it added and stuff, but I got it due to, we had a common interest, and they saw that I helped them when they needed help, and they never had a dog before, and they were constantly calling me because I had met them in a central location where I had my dog with me and was wearing a bandana. My dad is a realtor.
I love
And
that.
that's how I got it. And I'm thinking about even getting some of those bandanas and going to a dog park and handing them out, because people love putting bandanas on their dogs.
They do.
And that really helped me, because that was such a biggest sale. And if I would not have watched the dog and would not have kept constantly letting them know when they're out of the country that he's doing okay, they were like, because that was their baby, and they did not want to leave with somebody they did not know. And they knew how much a dog lover I am. They left it with me. So that was such a great thing. And one thing I forgot to tell you, they left the dog with somebody else, and they got really irritated since he was a huge puppy and he kept chewing everything. So one of them had to possibly fly back from India to take care of the dog. And I said, don't worry, I will go to San Francisco. I will pick up the dog and bring him to my house. And that was very hectic 3 weeks, but I got the biggest sale out of it. And common interest, I think, it plays a very important part when somebody's buying or selling, because they might think of you first.
That is a great thing. Danny, I'm sorry, I see your hand is up. Hang on, I'm going to help you unmute again. There we go.
I have a question, Coach, about the open houses. For example, let's say to make it very professional, we would like to send newsletters about this event. For example, November, December, okay? And in the same newsletter, what do you think, if it's a good idea if we make a kind of questionnaire to divide the target of the markets? For example, people who would like to invest, families, or other kind of market, and also if they will pay by cash, or if they have money, or by loan. What do you think about that? Or it's better to only send newsletter then, because if you have many people coming to the event, so you cannot, what is your goal? I mean, how is fast to sell? Because maybe you invite 10 people, nobody, but if you make this filter, you can have high probability to sell more fast. What do you think?
I think it's more important to have a one-to-one contact with people at an open house, especially. I do think that follow-up is important. So you could send something after the fact that could ask those kinds of questions, but you should be building rapport. Remember that you only have seconds to make a connection with someone when they walk in the door. I think something like that shows follow-up. It shows that I'm still interested in speaking to you. If you're talking about something in advance, in a way to engage maybe the sellers in the area. There was someone that that's in our organization that had a fun idea, which was she went around and, she would do sort of a questionnaire before the house actually went on the market. So while it was still coming soon, she would door knock and she would introduce herself to all of the sellers. And then she would say that you could win a Starbucks gift card if you could guess what the list price was going to be. And what they would have to do, they had a QR code on the Starbucks gift card on the card, and they had to give information like name and address and phone number, and you could add questions like that. Now you've met them in person, hopefully, or you've left something on the door, and people like to kind of join in on like that guessing, like they definitely want to know what their neighbor's house is going to be worth. I think that is not a great way to connect with people on the front end, but it's a great way to connect with people on the back end.
I have a great theory that I heard about post-closing. Circle prospect that neighborhood around a closing you've recently had and ask if their realtor, you know, if you can get their phone numbers, ask if their realtor has told them how much the house recently sold for, and start the conversation that way, and kind of make it like, well, did your realtor do this for you? Did they tell you how much this house sold for that was 4 doors down from you? And kind of, well, no, they didn't. And then you kind of start the conversation from there. I'm sure it's a lot more eloquently put, but that was the gist of it. But starting conversations with people that way, instead of just coldly calling them, that at least gives them value as to what's going on in their neighborhood without coming off as too salesy. Obviously that needs some finessing to make it.
Yeah. I do want to say something on the GeoFarm situation as well, because this is a common mistake. Guys, do not send your GeoFarm information that is full MLS data. It should always be just for where your farm is. They don't care about what's happening 2 counties over, sometimes even 3 miles over. It's not their same market. So whatever you're providing as far as data, as value on a letter, a newsletter, a postcard, whatever that is, it needs to be their neighborhood. They don't care about over there. They only care about right here. A lot of agents will pull the entire MLS data and be like, here's the average price point and the average days on market. And it's not even remotely close to what it is in the farm that you're working. I know we only have 3 minutes left. Is there anything else? Did anyone feel like there was something else they would like to get from today before we wrap up? Everybody's excited about business plans. They're going to go do it.
I was going to say a follow-up strategy call. I feel like I need to learn way more.
Yes. Well, normally this is about 6 hours. So this was like the super abbreviated version, but it's enough to get you started. Our full business plan is in that same Google Drive that Laura put into the chat for you. So there's a lot more that you could deep dive into, and you should deep dive into. The takeaway I want you to have is being very clear on what the goal is. And it needs to be based on what you've done previously. If you're brand spanking new, that's okay. Take the average in your market. If that's the case, go call a buddy and say, hey, we tend to be working the same markets. Can you tell me what your average price point is? And then figure out what your commission is from there. That way you can set specific goals. Okay. Then from there, decide those 4 pillars. Again, the top 2, top 50 and SOI. I'm sorry. I'm just going to make you do it. That's all there is to it. You can't fight me on it because I'm going to tell you the top 2 have to be that. And then the last 2 can be whatever you feel like you're actually going to do. And then 100% write the plans out. Put them on your calendar. Mondays is when I'm putting open houses into the MLS. Tuesdays is when I'm doing door knocking. Like whatever that is. If it's not in there, you're not going to do it. You're going to book around it.
What was the first one? Is it open houses?
It was making sure that they're in the MLS by Monday.
Sorry, the pillars?
Yeah. Oh, the pillars. Yeah. So it was top 50 SOI, and then you can choose the last 2. It's based on whatever you are already great at.
Okay.
If it's open houses, if it's door knocking, if it's expired listings, whatever that is, those 2 can be, but please don't choose something you're not going to do.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really important. Okay. I know we have to wrap up because Casey and I have another call in just a minute. Thank you so much for participating today. I so appreciate you guys. And please be sure that you complete your plan. Okay. Set your
Great
goals.
call.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you so much, Selina and
Bye,
Casey.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.